Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I welcome all my students of new second year to today's lecture, which is one of the basic fundamental module, which is very important because these are actually a system of ductless glands with different functions of our body and how they're all performing, what is their chemical nature, from where they are being secreted, what is their particular area of effect, and their classification. We are going to study one by one. Now, we should be knowing about what we are going to learn about. Now, first, all of you are supposed to know that what is the basic definition of hormones. Hormones are actually the substances which are being released from the endocrinal glands. Endocrinal glands, they are actually the ductless glands, and the secretions produced by them, they are known as hormones. And they are, the specific thing about the hormones is that they are secreted directly into the bloodstream, and via bloodstream they are going to reach their target cells, organs, tissues of the body. So all of you should be knowing about them. Now there are the various mechanisms. We should be knowing about what are the receptors, what is the fate of hormones, what is the chemical nature, what are they composed of, like they are steroids, they are proteins, they are peptides, what is their characteristic, what is the mode of action. We should be knowing about them in detail. If we know about their basic functioning, we should be able to know about what is their function. Now, what is the trigger mechanism? How are they being, their synthesis, their release, their control mechanism that is being maintained in our body to maintain the homeostasis? What is their neural axis? What is their humoral axis? Now, neural axis is actually how they're being controlled by the nervous system. Humoral means how they're being controlled by the other secretions of our body. What is the hormonal HP axis? What is this? This is hypothalamic pituitary axis. Now, what is the review of this hypothalamic pituitary relationship? What are the hormones of anterior pituitary, hormones from the posterior pituitary? What is this hypothalamic hypophyseal connection? What is the negative positive feedback mechanism? What will happen if there is any disruption, and how the pathologies they are being created? We are going to learn about thyroid gland, pituitary gland, hypothalamus, their microscopic structures, the synthesis of hormones, actions, the disorders, the pathologies, then adrenal glands, what is their specific action, what is their anatomical review, what is the adrenal cortical hormones like glucocorticoids, mineralocorticoids, corticosterone following the negative feedback control, the effects of corticosterones, their pathologies, what are growth hormone, parathyroid hormone. So we should be knowing all about them. So let's talk about them in detail, and inshallah within a period of like a few weeks time you'll be able to know this whole beautiful endocrinology module, how it is actually a sort of having integration with that of the other systems in our body, so that there is a proper balance of all the activities and all the functions in our body is taking place. Now, the endocrine system is a series of glands that release a hormone into the plasma, into the blood, where it is dissolved and is transported throughout the entire body within few seconds time. Every cell is exposed to the hormone, but not every cell is responding to it. The cell must have a functional hormone receptor. A cell that responds will do so in various ways. The cells in the heart, pancreas, and brain respond to epinephrine differently. One thing that always happens is that a cell will change its physiology in response to a hormone. It will do something different depending on the genes of the cell in that organ. So we should be knowing about that endocrinal hormones, they are highly receptor specific. Only those cells they are going to be responding to it who have their particular receptor. And how they're going to take place is definitely it is going to affect by depending on the genes of that particular cell organ. Hormones can be synergistic, they can be antagonistic. Like there can be hormones which are working in friendship together, that is synergism. They are going to work opposite to one another, that is antagonism. Like aldosterone and ADH, they are friends, both are working to increase the volume of fluid in the body. Now, some of the hormones, they are antagonists, like ANP, atrial natriuretic peptide, that is opposite to antidiuretic hormone and makes you urinate more. Some of the hormones they are permissive. They allow the other hormone to work. Like thyroid hormone is permissive for growth hormone. So we should be learning about their friendship. We should be learning about their opposition. They should be learning about their action as a big brother who is permitting the little brother to work um, in its presence. Now, look at this diagram. Now, the basic hormone action is made by the gland cells, possibly store them and release. And the endocrine glands, when they release their secretions, they secrete via the blood vasculature into the fluids. Then, on reaching although it is reaching all of the body at the same time, but only the specific tissues they are responding to it, which are the target cells. What are the target cells? They are the cells which do have the receptors for hormones. A hormone can have different effects on different target cells depending on the receptor, effects depending on the pre programmed response of the target cells. Hormones are merely molecular triggers. Some hormones are permissive for the action of another T3 for growth hormone. And the ultimate goal is that they alter the cell activity by altering the protein activity through gene expression or through altering the phosphorylation. So, all of you should be knowing about this ultimate goal of hormones is that they are going to affect the activity of a particular cell by altering the gene expression or by altering the phosphorylation. Now, a target cell is only a target cell if it has a functional receptor. What is a receptor? Receptor is a protein, right? So, if the cell is not having that particular target, that particular receptor, whatever tons and trucks of hormones they are there, that is not going to respond to it. Now, what is a receptor? A receptor is a protein which is made by the target cell, protein synthesis, gene expression, and is inserted into plasma membrane or found in cytoplasm or nucleoplasm. And in active sites fits the hormone, acts to convert or transduce the signal into a response. Endocrine glands they secrete hormones into the plasma. Then several different events could occur. It could bind to its receptor on the target cell, causing a change, or it could be destroyed by enzymes in the plasma. It could land in kidneys and be filtered out through reaching its target. C. What is the fate of a hormone once it is secreted? C. There is endocrinal cell releasing the free hormone into the body secretions, into the body blood, plasma. And the free hormone is either going to be carrier bound or it is degraded or it is going to reach that particular cell which is a target cell having hormone receptor, and later on the biological effects they are there. So uh, this is actually the fate of a hormone you should all be knowing. Now, we should be knowing about the classes of hormones. Now, the hormones can be steroid in nature. They can be amino acid derived peptides if they are having less than 100 amino acids. If they are composed of more than 100 amino acids, they are protein in nature. So the smallest categories are the amino acid derived and steroids. The largest categories are the peptides and proteins. So we should be knowing about this, that they are either steroid or they are peptide or they are protein, depending upon the number of amino acid. Now, steroid hormones, they are actually synthesized from cholesterol, which is lipids. They are hydrophobic, water hating, lipophilic, fat loving, require a transport protein to be carried in bloodstream, long lasting effects, dissolve in body fat stores, long half life, can go all the way across cell and nuclear membrane to bind the receptor, and they act directly on the gene transcription. Steroid hormones, they are synthesized from cholesterol, are hydrophobic, and require a transport protein in plasma. They all have rings which are going to make them lipophilic and hydrophobic. They have long lasting effects. They dissolve in body fat stores. They can be stored there. They have long half life. The receptor is there inside the cell because they can easily pass through the cell membrane, and they are the only class of hormone that can get through the cell membranes. A steroid receptor is usually in the nucleus, although it may have a receptor in the cytoplasm, in which case it will then continue on its nucleus. How does it change the physiology of cell? Steroid um, hormones, they act directly on the DNA transcription. Now, there is one other hormone, thyroid hormone, that has its receptor in the nucleus. Thyroid hormone is amino acid derived but has a hydrophobic ring which is made up of two tyrosine amino acids, making thyroid hormone hydrophobic as well. Now, it do has the effects on the DNA gene transcription. Thyroid hormone is amino acid derived, and but it behaves like a steroid. Steroid affect the genes. Now, these hormones, they use intracellular receptors. Now, look at this diagram. This is a must for all of you to get through it, to learn it, in order if you want to learn how these hormones they are acting. Now, steroid hormones, they enter the cell because they are fat soluble, and they bind to cytoplasmic receptor, and together they enter the nucleus to have direct effects on the DNA transcription. So by affecting the DNA, they can lead to production of new cell proteins. Thyroid hormone goes all the way to the nucleus and binds to nuclear receptor and has direct effects on DNA transcription, so resulting in the formation of new cell proteins. See? Then protein or peptide amino acid, all the hormones except thyroid hormone. Hydrophilic, although they are water loving, but they don't need a plasma protein carrier. Their receptors are not inside, and they are an integral protein that goes through the cell membrane. The hormone binds to the outside signal, is sent into the cell. A series of second messengers, they are involved in the signal transmission, and the second messenger systems, they are not the first chemical messenger, that is the hormone. There are three common ones: the cyclic AMP, IP3, inositol triphosphate, diacylglycerol, and enzyme link type. So we will learn about them in detail, about the second messengers. Now, the second messengers, they change the physiology of a cell by a protein called a kinase, which is activated, and kinase is going to add the phosphate groups onto the protein, and this alters the protein's activity, usually by supercharging. It is very efficient. Not all of them become supercharged. Sometimes they are suppressed. When a protein is phosphorylated, its activity is changed. The cell's activity will then change. All the hormones have the same end result. It alters the physiology of the cell. See how the peptide, protein, amine based hormones they are working. Hydrophilic, lipophobic, may not require a transport protein. They are soluble in water. They must bind receptor on the target cell membrane and trigger second messengers to change physiology of target cell. Exception is thyroid hormones, behaves like a steroid. Now we are going to learn about how they are actually being synthesized and how they are being actually stored and how they are working in detail later on. Today was just the introductory lecture, and you should all be knowing about the definition of hormone, what are the different classifications of endocrine glands depending upon their chemical nature, depending upon their chemical characteristics, depending upon their site of location, depending upon their mechanism of action, depending upon the hormones they're being released. And so inshallah we'll definitely do learn the things related to this module in detail later on. So stay tuned and Allah Hafiz, stay blessed.